What an interesting period in history we've been through, huh? 2020 and 2020 2.0 were intense, are intense. The world around us has definitely changed, right? And the tech community did not go unscathed. Agreed, right? Our industry and every niche within it is forever going to be different. I get irritated when people talk about the pandemic being a thing of the past, and I realized recently that people who say that are actually correct. We're now in an endemic, and this is our new reality. Yay. The title of this talk, Rebuilding Together, I want to make very clear, when I'm talking about rebuilding in this context, I in no way mean to imply that we're ever going to get back to before times, right? The past is dead. It's gone. I'm talking about rebuilding something new and beautiful from the ashes of all the things we've lost. So as you can tell, this is going to be really, really upbeat. Yeah, I'm going to share some personal stuff, which is a little vulnerable for me. And in fact, if anyone in the room needs a content warning, I am going to briefly discuss suicide. So please, again, really upbeat. I'm so stoked. But I'm also going to share these things to give you some very tangible, concrete things that every person in this room can do to rebuild this community and make something beautiful. So I'm going to start by going back in time a little bit to what feels like an eternity ago, to March 12th of 2020. And so this day started out like any other day for me, right? My family of 5 got up really early. We had to get 2 big kids on buses and a baby to daycare, and we had this routine down. Guys, seriously, like our morning routine was finely crafted and like honed for efficiency and sustainability. We're insane people, so we were considering having a 4th for a time. We made sure that our morning routine was scalable, and we had it down. Now, you're thinking, why would this woman be excited about her morning routine getting her kids out the door? So here's the thing. For anyone who knows me, you know that I did 5 years hard time as a stay-at-home mom, and that did not agree with me. So going back to work in 18 was like a vacation from the horrors of being a stay-at-home full-time parent. For me, I didn't see getting my kids out the door as an obligation. I saw it, as being one step closer to my bougie office, to my coffee in hand, one step closer to conversations with actual adults that don't involve poop, and just generally feeling good about the work that I do and who I am as a person. This is right. It's very selfish. I loved getting my children out the door so I could go be me. And yeah, that was March 12th. And then there was March 13th. And then there was literally every frickin' day since, right? It's a lot. So I've been told that a lot of people actually have really loved the whole shutdown, work from home, remote thing. Does anyone here actually like remote work? That's a lot of hands. Crazies. All right, so for those who raised your hands, who here loves remote work with 3 small children constantly freaking talking to you and touching you and demanding food? And yeah, Anyone? Bueller? Yeah? Okay. I accept that some people love like this brave new world we're in. I have not loved my working conditions since March of last year. So you see, I don't have a stay-at-home partner. I keep telling my husband we need to requisition a stay-at-home wife, and he keeps fighting me on it over like, can't afford another one or something, I don't know. But yeah, so my partner is also employed full-time. He's a software architect, so not exactly a low-demanding job, right? And we have 3 children. And when the shutdown started, our kids were 10 years old, 5 years old, and 9 months old. What an adventure the early days of the shutdown were. Like seriously, you don't know a good time until you're trying to nurse a squirmy toddler while debugging a failed Jenkins build on a call with your teammates. Yeah, that's neat. It's good times. And I realized pretty immediately when shutdown started, some stuff about our day-to-day was gonna have to change and our routine was gone. So I did things like I refactored our dining room. And I made it so that we had 2 stations for adults making software, 2 stations for kids on Zoom school. And that meant, what do we do with the baby? So either one of us was holding him, which not conducive to productivity, or, if all 4 of us had to be heads down, we put him in the baby cage. And I'm told good parents call that a pack and play. But the baby cage, because let's just call it what it is, he just sat there and cried. And that was just sort of our life. right? For the first week or two. To say that my productivity tanked would be like saying the Titanic had a fairly rough maiden voyage. It was rough. I'm very excited I didn't get fired. Yes. So I decided what I'm gonna do is if I'm being forced to pull my work into my home, I'm doing it. I'm all in. Full tilt boogie. We are introducing DevOps into this house. So what did that look like? So first, I gathered a list of requirements for our first family sprint, 1-week sprints. I gathered a list of requirements. What did we need to be productive and happy on a given day, right? Did we need quieter workspaces? Did we need more school or office supplies, better snacks? That was my middle child. She's my eater. That was her mission critical demand. Up your snack game, Mom. By the way, you have no idea how much food your children eat until they're actually home. That free government daycare feeds them, okay? Thank you, public schools. I had no idea. Did we need things like faster internet? Do we need to upgrade that? Did we need more frequent diaper changes? Now, my toddler was nonverbal, but the smell gave it away. That was definitely on the list of requirements. So I just got to work that first sprint, meeting as many of these needs as I could. And I set up a sprint retro/planning meeting Sunday night over family dinner, which, refactored the dining room, so that now happens on the living room floor. And we would just go over every Sunday night, like what went well this week, what went poorly, and what tiny changes are we going to introduce to next week in the hopes that we're less miserable. It has been a very long 1.5 years in my home, and in most everyone's home. And I'm going to admit, this is selfish. I have been fast to focus on things that I lost to the pandemic, right? The freedom to go where I want, to see the people I want to see, the ability to work in an office with actual human beings and grown-ups at that. COVID tried to kill me last Thanksgiving. It was the longest 3 weeks of my life. To just give you an idea of how bad COVID was in my house, all 5 of us had it. By the way, a toddler with COVID is not fun. At one point I was laying on the couch and I realized I had to use the restroom, which was a 20-foot walk from the couch. And I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt there was no way I could physically stand up and walk that far. And as I was contemplating what to do about this, it just kind of hit me that if I were to lay there and wet myself, my husband would never look at me the same way again. And that's not acceptable. So I rallied. I managed to roll onto the hardwoods, army crawl, take a nap outside of the bathroom, and then muster the energy. But I survived. I'm still here. I got a gift with Perseus. I now have asthma, but I made it through. I've had to take a step back and realize that whatever inconveniences, whatever hardships, whatever we've lost of that sort of nature, we've lost people. Not everyone was as lucky as I was. And just the loss of human life we've all been through has made this a global hardship. And now we have to recover from it, right? So how do we do that? Well, it's really easy. It's super easy. In fact, I can end the talk right now. We're going to do it by putting people first at all costs, and we're going to do it hand in hand with the other people who lived through it. Done. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I hate vague advice and vague disclaimers. They are no one's friend. So we're going to get concrete. What do those two things actually boil down to? What can we actually do as a community and as global citizens? What can we do to rebuild, right? Well, the first thing, rebuilding together looks like extending grace and giving everyone we encounter the benefit of the doubt. So, February of 2015, I was driving and I almost ran several cars off the road. I was driving home to Atlanta from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I was driving erratically. I ran several red lights. I 100% did not maintain lane like I ought to have. I got flicked off a time or 12 by my fellow motorists on that drive. People would pass me yelling, screaming obscenities, cursing a name they didn't even know. And that makes sense, right? I was the problem. I was a problem. Of course they were angry. What those people had no way of knowing is what my day had looked like up to that point. That was the day that I extubated my mother in a Tuscaloosa ICU. I had to say my goodbyes to her, and I had to watch her pass, and then I had to get myself home to Atlanta somehow. I never should have been behind the wheel of that car. Of course I was a terrible driver, right? To rebuild this community looks like accepting that, especially when people are being problematic, we have no idea what's going on at home. We have no idea what they're dealing with. And so a coworker drops the ball on a work item, right? We have no way of knowing. Are they behind in work because they just found out their partner has a cancer diagnosis? Did they have to put their dog down a few days ago? Or maybe it's nothing that dramatic. Maybe, like me, they gained the COVID-19 and none of their clothes fit and they've got a big event and they can't afford a new wardrobe and they're just stressed. Or maybe, like so many of us, after 12 years of pandemic life, or however long it's been, maybe they're just fresh out of spoons, right? Maybe they're just burnt out. So instead of going to this coworker and saying, hey, why didn't you get this done? Man, you're holding me back. I can't do my testing because your piece isn't done. Start out with, hey, you seem to really be struggling. What can I do to support you in getting this done, right? Start out with, hey, are you taking any time for yourself? How can I help you work on this? That's what grace looks like from our coworkers. If you keep your focus on helping and putting kindness ahead of everything else, it only puts good in this world. And I promise you, it will never be something you regret. Fred Rogers famously said, right? When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people helping. Now, I recognize that major news outlets like to use this quote to just kind of brush tragedy under the rug, so we're going to go back to its original meaning. We're going to look for the helpers. Rebuilding this community together looks like being the helpers. Now, I harp a lot on self-care, and when I say self-care, I don't mean bubble baths. In fact, I'm a tangent. Can we all just agree that basic hygiene and eating food and taking a shower is not self-care? That's baseline. Everyone's entitled to that on a daily basis, right? No. When I talk about self-care is anything that makes your life easier or that frees up real estate in your brain from worry, right? And so maybe that looks like early on in the pandemic, I started paying someone to come in every 2 weeks and do the deep cleaning on my house. When was I going to find the time around work and 3 kids and to scrub a bathroom? Cool, I'm gonna throw some money at that and life's easier, woo! So when I say be a helper, I am not saying be a martyr. I am not talking about sacrificing your own health and well-being. In fact, always put your mask on first. You cannot help anyone gasping for air. When I say be a helper, I mean keep in mind that you can't always help, and I'll tell you what I tell my children. If you can't help, you can't help. But if you can help, you must. It is a part of the social contract. You can help, right? And so what does this look like? It looks like maybe, in the context of this community, offering to help a more junior teammate with pairing or mentoring when, or ideally before, they're super frustrated. Or maybe it looks like it's end of sprint and you're done with your tickets. Rather than pulling something off the backlog, look at your team. Who's got a lot of outstanding points? Because guess what? They're probably behind because something's going on that you don't know about. Reach out, offer to help, pick up some slack, be a helper. Maybe being a helper in this community looks like really paying attention to people's moods, the words they use about their life, the choices they make, and checking in on them if they seem like they're struggling. Reaching out, hey, just maybe private little conversation. How are you doing? Make sure they're okay. And spoiler alert, being a helper looks like checking on people who seem like they're doing great, right? Which is going to bring me to the most important takeaway I hope you get from this talk, is that mental health matters. And in my opinion, it is the single most important thing this community is going to need to rebuild together, mental health. The pandemic has been unkind to a lot of us. Now, this is probably going to come as a little bit of a shock, but I'm mildly extroverted. And I really thrive on being around people. Oh my God, I am an energetic vampire. Just being in this room and seeing people laugh and nod and enjoying the sense of community all day, I am high AF on this, right? And 2020 was supposed to be my year for conference drugs. I had it all laid out, man. So my first ever paid gig was supposed to be the end of March 2020. Had multiple international speaking engagements lined up. Woot. And I had a plan to give my first keynote by fall of 2020. I had a plan, I had a hustle, and I was working it, and I was nailing it. And then, as Bo Burnham so eloquently said in his special Inside, and then the strangest thing happened. And all that went away. It just got taken away. After just a few months of working remotely with 3 kids at home, struggling, I hit a wall. I was depressed, I was anxious, I stopped sleeping, to speak of, and I pretty much kept the Argentinian wine industry afloat, single-handedly, which would be a much funnier joke if it weren't so true. And I started thinking about all the ways this world would be better if I weren't in it, and how much easier it would be for me if I didn't have to be in this world anymore. And it came very close to acting on that several times. I ended up doing 8 weeks of intense outpatient therapy at a center for women like me, women with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which for the uninitiated is PTSD on steroids. It's good times. It's what makes me so quirky. I love it when people tell me they love my personality because I get to say, thanks, it's a disorder. And so why am I telling you this? Just so we're clear, when I'm like sitting at home thinking about what would be a wild and crazy time, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to get on stage and tell a room full of strangers about that time I was girl interrupted at a mental hospital. Like, no, this is not fun for me. I'm telling you because no one noticed that I was drowning on dry land, right? If I was on Zoom or Meet, my camera was on, I was laughing, I was joking. I only turned the camera on if I was capable of laughing and joking. I checked in on my teammates. I made sure they were okay. I was everybody's cheerleader. Everyone thought I was doing fine, right? I did try to tell a few people, and in fact, one day, one of my coworkers, we were waiting for everyone else to get on a call, and he said, hey Val, how you doing? And I said, oh, just living the dream. He said, I hear that a lot. What does that actually mean? I thought about it for a minute, and I said, well, Dex, living the dream is white person for I'm about to kill myself. And it's true. Almost on cue, by the way, the next person who got on, who we knew was a depressed wreck, when asked how he was doing, replied with, living the dream. But no one noticed. We need to be the helpers and check in with the teammates, the coworkers, the community members, the organizers, and our loved ones, the ones that we can see are struggling, and more importantly, the ones that don't look like they're struggling as well. Because you never know who's like Robin Williams or Anthony Bourdain or like me. They seem fine, right? Good, okay. I was very lucky that at some point people close to me started to notice how bad things had gotten. And they helped me to get the care and resources that every single person in this room deserves. If you are struggling, you deserve help, and I'll just leave it at that. But be a helper. Check in with people about mental health. And here's the best part. Here's your concrete, tangible, actionable item. The easiest way to check in with someone on their mental health is to be transparent and honest about yours. When you are open and honest about your struggles, and I don't mean, you know, pull a Regas and get on a stage and be like, but just over coffee, just cash mentioning, yeah, you know, I'm really depressed. I'm considering, you know, starting an SSRI or whatever it is. Like, just be honest. It lets everyone that hears it know that you're safe. You're a safe person to discuss their own struggles with. They're not alone. This is the easiest way we can rebuild the mental health of this community, is to all just be honest about the fact that the last couple of years has kind of sucked, right? And it's impacted all of us in different ways. Be a helper, reach out, be honest, and everyone around you will benefit. It's also important that as we move forward and we look at how to help each other, that we try to, you know, be grateful for what good did come out of this pandemic. And I know that that is trite. I know it is. I know. But go with me here. I tasked myself with thinking about what good has come into my life because of this pandemic, right? So let's talk about my partner, Michael. We have had to band together since March 16th of 2020 as team parent because we are outnumbered by team kid. And this has looked like taking up each other's slack. Like we used to have his tasks, my tasks, we both went to offices, everything was, you know, a finely designed routine. Now, whatever needs doing, whoever's not working right this minute does it. We take up slack for the other one. We have had to really put the other one's needs and wants ahead of our own. And romance aside, our friendship and our co-parenting relationship has never been stronger. It's a huge blessing that has come to me from this pandemic. I've been able to see a lot of firsts with my third kid that I never would have seen if I'd been at the office and he'd been at daycare. That's a huge deal. I saw all sorts of stuff that just, you know, daycare's raising them. They'll see it. My oldest kid did not do well with Zoom school. Because I was stuck at home anyway, I was able to homeschool him. And it was amazing to watch this, you know, 10-year-old boy. I didn't have time to actually homeschool, just so we're clear. At sprint planning meetings Sunday night, it was amazing to watch him mature and grow so rapidly because he had to go through all of the curriculum manuals and figure out how many math modules and which one and what's his social studies for the week. And to watch him just bloom into this young man who could suddenly take responsibility for his own education. It's a huge blessing. Also, he got real US history and not that sugar-coated crap they teach in public schools. So, bonus. For those of you who actually like the remote work, well, here you go, right? Even if your boss tries to say, come back to the office, it's kind of hard to argue with someone who's been productive for 18 months from home when they say, I don't wanna. You got a bargaining chip now, mazel. I have been able to pretty much live in workout clothes. Can we just like thank whoever created elastic waist pants, right? That's been a blessing. And that Zoom feature to touch up your appearance, I am vain and I am there for it, right? That is fantastic. I look fantastic on Zoom. Blessings. So here's the thing. This pandemic has changed more than just how we work, where we work, and sort of our relationship with the community around us. This has changed who we are as people. So recently I was asked to think about, you know, some of these concepts that we're discussing today, and I realized that 2 years ago, if I had been tasked with really thinking about my coworkers and business and the software development life cycle and different concepts, like what would have come to mind would have been like a Scrum team, you know, synergistically creating whatever, like random corporate jargon, or like a dev team frantically whiteboarding while they develop future-proof applications, or like whatever the hell it is. Like, that's what would have come to mind, right? There probably would have been a montage in my head because it's kind of a party up here and sometimes you just need a montage. But that's not what I think about now. When I think about my work and my career and my community and how software gets deployed by me, I think about sitting on my living room floor with my work machine on my lap, trying desperately to pay attention to the world's most boring meeting, and out of the corner of my left eye, seeing my 9-month-old baby bravely letting go of the couch and taking his first steps. Oh, it's amazing. That's my new coworker, right? He's an important part of my life. I think about the days that I've realized my children had done nothing but be on screens 24/7 so that I could get some work done. And so in between meetings, I'm driving to a playground with my mobile hotspot in hand so that they can move their bodies and not hate their lives entirely just because mommy has a job, right? This is what I think about when I think about the tech community and when I think about where I work. When I think about conferences, until today, it was me sitting alone in my office with no audience interaction, right? We've changed. The way we think about this world has changed. I'm going to shamelessly plug my company right now because I'm so in love, right? I mean, I've divorced several people, but I would like to die with Salesforce. But I'm thankful to work at a company that understands how we've changed. And I hope that everyone has that same joy. When we talk about our coworkers, we're no longer talking about our actual coworkers. When we talk about business, we're no longer talking about our coworkers in the office, our leaders, and our customers, right? When we talk about the tech community, that now necessarily also includes our partners, our roommates, our parents, our kids, all the people that we interact with every day that are impacted similarly, right? I'm thankful to be a part of the tech community because I believe this is one space in my life that will actually take seriously this call to action and will actually try to rebuild something beautiful together. I look around and I know that every single person in this room is capable and most likely willing to extend grace to people around them, to give people the benefit of the doubt, to try to remember that we don't know what's going on in someone's home or in their mind. I see a room full of people that I believe wholeheartedly are willing to be helpers, that are willing to check in on each other and show love, right? And that's the thing. Here's what it takes to do these things. One, it takes love, a love of yourself. You have to love you enough to take care of you so that you can take care of other people. And you have to love those people enough to want to help them. It's going to take a constant focus on your sense of community and remembering why you care about these people in the first place. And it's going to take courage. It is scary, it is vulnerable, and it takes bravery to check in with someone and say, are you doing okay? I've noticed lately you seem a little down. What's going on, man? You want to grab some coffee? You hop on a call? It's even more vulnerable to go to your boss and say, hey, I'm burnt out. I've got a lot of stuff going on at home. I don't know what I need, but I can't live this way. It's scary. And that's the cool part about fear, is as it turns out, if you're not afraid, you can't be brave. You are only brave when you're afraid of something and you do it anyway, right? So I'm asking all of you, and pledging myself, let's be brave. Let's be brave together. Let's be as brave as my 9-month-old baby, and let's all let go of the proverbial couch together and toddle forward and show each other the love that each and every one of us deserves and rebuild this community together. Thank you.